Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are moving on to our backends. And so the first thing we're going to do is try to use a standard backend. So we're going to back something with Amazon S3. So what I want you to do is we're going to go find our folder here, which is called Backends. And I think I'm just going to break this up into multiple files, or folders, I should say, because I feel like we're going to be doing more than one thing. So I'm just going to rename this folder to standard S3 here. Okay, I'm going to create myself a new file called main.tf. And what I'm going to do is type in Terraform here. And what we'll do is we'll go to the internet and we'll see how this looks like for a standard backend. So we go type in standard S3 Terraform. Okay. We're going to scroll on down, and there is our example. It's pretty darn simple to set up Terraform there, or for AWS. And so we have our backend defined there, and we're going to need a new bucket. So we'll name that here in a moment. So I'm going to just call this Terraform backend, and I'm just going to pound in a few numbers here. And we're going to have a key, and so this is going to be our state file. So I'm just going to call this terraform.tfstate. And we'll keep the region to US East 1. So now that we have our bucket defined, at least the name, we're going to go there to AWS and go ahead and create that bucket. So, we have something to put that in. So we'll make our way over here, and I'm going to go ahead and create myself a new bucket. Okay, scroll all the way down, hit create bucket. And so now we should have that bucket. That's all good to go. But we're going to need something to provision because we don't necessarily have anything here. So what I'm going to do is go to one of our previous tutorials. Actually, I think the code in the last one is pretty good, with the exception that we don't want to have it backed by all this stuff up here. So what we'll do is go grab all of this here. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste that on in. And I will also bring over the variables.tf because we'll need that as well. So we'll say variables.tf. And paste that on in. And we'll also grab our Terraform's TF vars to save us some time. It's called Terraform TF vars. And we will paste the contents in there. And so now what we should be able to do is go into our folder here, and I'm going to do a Terraform init. I think that should just be in good shape there. Now notice that we set it to S3, but we didn't specify a provider or details. I assume that it would just pick up those environment variables if they are set in our credentials, but I guess we'll find out here in a moment what's going to happen, okay? And while that's going, I'm just going to look here and see what they have for permissions. I'm just looking for general permissions, configuration, like region and things like that. So, it looks like we would have to set a particular region and stuff like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do a Terraform apply and see if this just works. And while that is going, we're just going to give a read here. So region is required if the DynamoDB table is used. The following configuration is optional. So the access key, the secret, IAM endpoint, max retries, the profile. And I am using the default profile, so that's totally fine. I would just assume that, if we want to do something besides the default profile, we just go like profile default here or what have you. And so down below, I'm just going to type in yes. Well, it's going. We're just going to keep taking a look here. So yeah, there's a lot of options here. DynamoDB endpoint. So custom endpoint for DynamoDB API. This can be sourced from the AWS DynamoDB endpoint. So I guess if you provisioned a table or created a table, you just specify these two options to add that there if you want locking, okay? But we'll give this a moment here and see it all spin up, okay? See you back in a moment. All right, so after a short little wait here, our server is done provisioning. So what we can do is just confirm that. And we'll go into our Terraform folder here and give it a refresh. And so there we have our Terraform TF state file. And I want to see if there is a backup. And so in here, I don't see one. So I'm not sure what's going on. Like when you're local, you're always going to get a backup here. I didn't turn on versioning here. It probably wants us to have that versioning. It's highly recommended that you enable bucket versioning on the S3 bucket to allow the state recovery in the case of accidental deletion or human error. And I guess my one thought is that how would you keep track of previous versions, right? Like if I was to update this, you know, what's going to happen? So here I'm just going to maybe just change the instance size. So we'll go over to variables, or sorry, our, yeah, I think it might be set in our TFRs there. And we'll change this to a nano. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and deploy this again. So we'll say Terraform apply auto approve. Because what I'm really curious about is like the versioning, right? Because if we turn on versioning and then we look at S3, will we see those multiple versions? Because that's just a way of like recovering older versions of the state file. And that might be something that is important for us to do. Because again, I don't see any backups over here. I could probably open up this folder here. And yeah, so I don't see any backups. All right, so I'll see you back here in a moment. Great, so after a short little wait there, this deploy is done. So we'll go back here and give it a refresh. And so, yeah, we don't have another file here. It's just the same file that it's overwriting. So this is probably where we'd want to turn on our versioning. And so I'm not sure if we have to empty the bucket versioning as a means. I'm not always turning versioning on all the time. We'll go here and enable it. You might need to update your lifecycle rules to manage previous versions of objects, which is totally fine. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is go back over here. And I think if we go over here, we can actually see, I think we see like the version here. I could have sworn there used to be like an option here to see multiple versions, but that's totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do a Terraform destroy. Okay. Because I'm not sure if that file that we've placed up there is actually being versioned. It might be the one after this. Normally when you turn versioning on, there's like no way to actually delete things. At least that's what I remember. So we'll see how this goes, and I'll see you back here in a moment, okay? All right, after a short little wait, it teared everything down. So I want to go back here and give this a refresh. And so our state file is still there. And that's the thing with versioning. Oh, it's right here. That's the button. So we go here and we can see our multiple versions. Okay, so I guess we might have just peeled back one there. And so what I'm going to do is just switch this back to micro. Okay. Oops, I don't want to destroy. But we'll say Terraform Terraform plan again. Actually, I don't want to plan. I just want to apply it. Auto approve. Okay, and my thought process is still, again, like if I'm doing destroy, am I like just falling back to the previous state file of the previous version? And the reason why that matters is that, you know, if you keep on destroying, that means that, you know, you're not going to have a state file that actually reflects what it is, unless the Terraform destroy is writing a new version. If it's doing that, that would actually be pretty useful. That's what it might be doing. And so that's something we should really be sure of here. So we'll do an apply, and what I want to see is another version appear, and then I want to do a destroy, and I want to see if it removes the state file or just adds another one with the remove things. And I think it's going to be the latter, okay? But we should just definitively know here. So I'll see you back in a moment. All right, so this just finished here. So what I'm going to do is give this a nice little refresh. And you can see we have a new state file. And so what I'm going to do is now do my Terraform destroy. So we'll do Terraform, apply, destroy, auto approve. Okay. And I will see you back here when this is done destroying, and we'll see if we have an additional file or if the last one was removed, okay? All right, so another short wait here, and our deploy is done. So what I'm gonna do is refresh, and what we have is another state file. So that's what it's doing. It's just updating the state file, removing all of those things and applying it there. Some other things that might be important to you is turning on encryption. So if we go down to encryption, it's disabled by default. And so there is an option to turn it on here, but I also noticed in the back end that they have it here as well. I'm not sure if that would flip the switch for you or if the fact that you need to have this enabled as well. It would be also really great if they told us if this was a Boolean or not. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So if I was to go over to here, or we go up here and say encrypt, and say true. I'm not sure if it would take that. Just type Terraform init here. If you wish to migrate, automatic migration for state, Terraform init. So it sounds like it might have to do a lot of work there. So I think you'd probably want to turn that on before you do this. But that's something you wanted to do, is probably have encryption and then make sure that no one can delete the original option or the object. But usually versioning takes care of that for you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll move on to the next part of our backend stuff, okay? And just as always, let's go ahead and destroy our infrastructure there. Almost forgot to do this as per usual. You probably might want to tear this down. So if you wanted to do that, I think you'd have to suspend it. But preserve existing object versions. Do not change. Okay, that's fine. We will save that change there. And I'm going to go ahead and press yes here. Okay, and we'll go back to our objects. And I want to show the versions. I just want to see if I can empty this bucket here. Whoops, I don't want to open that, but hey, we can see the contents of that file, which is nice. Probably would have helped to show that as we were doing this. We'll go ahead and delete all these. Say permanently delete. And we'll go back over to our backend here. And now our bucket is empty. And so if you want to delete this bucket, you just go back a layer here. And we'll go ahead and delete this bucket. There we go.